Good morning, world. This is Barbie Lee. Oh my God, are you ready for a blackout? This is a question. I'm not necessarily talking about like electricity blackouts, although that's part of it. But are you prepared for a blackout? And I'm not talking you get so intoxicated you black out, because that's a whole other situation. And I'm not talking about the government blackout where they limit information. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm using blackout in a different way, a different terminology, something that, perhaps is something to think about. So let's see. So I am Barbie Lee. Good morning. This is Shake Talk. I do not have a chocolate shake this morning. Is it chocolate? It is chocolate. It looks chocolate. I thought you made vanilla?
I have my birthday
Oh, husband's eating. Okay, I always have my chocolate shaken, but it doesn't taste the same because we had to put in my ionics and my greens. Okay, I totally have a chocolate shake this morning. So good morning. So let's talk about a blackout. So yesterday in Playa, Dwayne went shopping, and he went to buy us a bike actually, and the fan stopped, and that's really how I know we had a power outage, because my computer's charged, my phone was charged, but my fan died. And I was like, oh, look over to the toaster oven. Yep, we have no power. Usually lasts 15 or 20 minutes. We've had a couple since we've been here. It's high season, right? So like high hot season. So I get it, no problem. But this one lasted an hour, and I said to Dwayne, I'm out going to the beach. Well, then cell service went down. So now Dwayne and I can't talk to each other. And we're like, isn't that interesting? I was sitting on the beach because I got the nice ocean breeze. I found a nice shaded area. I was reading my book, hanging out, hear people around me talking about there's no power in our hotel. Oh my gosh, like what are we going to do? And they physically are not prepared for a blackout, which, you're on vacation. You're hoping you don't have a blackout. And so we went for another walk. We went down the beach after sunset. We were on the beach. It was still literally almost pitch black in Playa del Carmen. But Cozumel had power. Very interesting. But the Yucatan, like part Cancun, so it said 3 states were without power because there was some sort of maintenance they were doing, and boom, it shut off 3 power grids. What did it say, 9 stations or something? Big deal, okay? And then the lights going on about, 8 o'clock, let's say, and the whole beach erupted in cheers. It was so fun. And then people started moving and heading off the beach and stuff like that. And then we crawled into bed at maybe say 10:30, and whoosh, everything went down again. And we hear it because the bars were open. There's a party going on in the park. And then we hear, and then about a minute later it goes on, woo, and everybody cheers. Like, Mexican people are so fun. So that's a typical blackout, right? And in that time, I started thinking about, what are these blackouts, right? What happens? So how much pesos do we have? Because when Dwayne went to buy the bike, they wouldn't sell him the bike because they didn't have any transaction capabilities, right? Because everything is done on their POS system. Did he bring enough cash to buy a bike? No. They wouldn't have sold him one anyways because their system couldn't input his data, because we are so reliant on our electricity and our internet and stuff, right? So how are you prepared? I said to him this morning, do we have water? So we have a Garofone. We have one sitting here. I'm like, maybe we need an extra. Maybe we should have 2 in the house just in case, because we can always make our shakes with water, so we won't starve to death. Maybe I'm just going to move this because I don't know if you're getting in my peripheral, and he's kind of naked. Okay. So making sure we have water and stuff. So that's the prep for, having a battery pack. It's so funny because having a battery pack for my phone would have done nothing for me yesterday because there was no cellular service. We had no internet, no cellular service. We were literally in the dark because we were in the dark. So make sure you're prepared for that kind of blackout. Now, I'm not going to talk about the temporary loss of consciousness, especially when it comes to alcohol, because that's self-induced, and too bad for you if you do that. You shouldn't. You're an adult. And I'm not going to talk about, so I looked it up and it said blackout, a suppression of information, especially when imposed on the media by government, okay? So when there's a media blackout. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your freaking life. I'm talking about, are you living in a blackout in your life? Are your lights dim? You know what I mean? Are you not living the life you want to live? Are you just existing in the dark, getting, so in this case, the suppression of information, especially imposed by the media or government? Are you only being fed information, or are you out there getting information? Are you temporary loss of consciousness in consciousness of being connected to something bigger and greater than you, right? Are you, so in Canada, if you're a Canadian and you have Canadian friends, especially in Western Canada, and if you're friends with me and you've seen my post, you cannot not know what is going on with the ostriches in Canada. And quick little story, if you are living in a blackout world because you don't listen to anything of value and you only let the algorithms feed you what the algorithms think you should know, and you haven't seen my post about the ostriches, go to my freaking page and read it. Cian, my dear friend, my dear friend Cian, wrote a beautiful post about it. Basically, there's an ostrich farm in British Columbia that does lab research, and they are testing for making cures for the coronavirus and COVID and a bunch of viruses. Now, first of all, ostriches are not birds, but the government wants to step in and cull them. That means kill them. Cull the herd, which means kill them, and get rid of the birds. Because avian flu, they're not birds. They're ratatites. I think I said that right. Anywho, so if you're living in a blackout world, you don't know what's going on. Now, do I want to know everything going on in the world? No. Our systems, our central nervous systems were not prepared to get information 24 hours a day. It's really kind of lovely. We're on the beach last night, and we're watching people actually talking to each other. There's a few people still scrolling on their phones. I don't know if they were looking at pictures or what. They still have that addiction to their phones, and, so be it. That's how some people are. But during the blackout, we really got to connect, right? So Dwayne and I just sat there. We looked at the stars. We're like, oh my gosh, look at the stars. And then we started talking about, I don't know what star constellations I'll see from here, like where they're going to be in the sky. Where's Cassiopeia? Where's Orion? The stuff that I would see in my night sky. Are you living in a blackout in your relationships? Are you just going through the motions? Are you just accepting whatever information comes in and just saying, well, that's my life, right? Are you living in a relationship that doesn't serve you? I spoke to a beautiful lady the other day, and we were doing kind of an initial consulting type. She's a coach, and she was giving out free consults. I'm like, I'm always into talking to somebody new to see how we can connect, right? And when she asked me a little bit about my life and everything, and I told her, and Dwayne and I have been together since 1988, she goes, oh my God, you are so blessed, right? She says, you found one of the good ones because you still sound happy. She says, I know a lot of women that are, married 30 years and they are miserable as fuck. And I was like, no, I'm totally happy. Like, yeah, do we have our problems? Do I want to smother him in his sleep when he snores? Yes, I do. But then I have to deal with the body. And I've always said to my children and anybody who would listen, clean up the mess. Always hide the body. And that's the biggest job, is to hide the body. So it's unlikely that I will be smothering Dwayne anytime in his sleep. Soon. Anytime. So are you living in a blackout of consciousness? Are you living so unconscious that you're not looking at your food, you're not looking at your faith, you're not looking at your finances, you're not looking at your fitness, you're not looking at the fun you are or are not having? I call them the new F words: food, faith, fitness, finance, and fun. It falls under my quality of life assurance business that I do. That's a partnership with Isogenics, right? But if you are living unconscious, if you are living in a blacked out state, I personally don't think that's living. I could be wrong. There are multiple things that I am wrong with. But when I talk to people, I made a post the other day, and it's like, I'm going to look it up. Something about your check engine light or something. What did I write? Are you like your car? Hold on, I'm going to find it. See, this is how you can prove it's never been scripted, because You know, I never remember what to say. Do you feel like your body's check engine light has been on and you're still driving it? Like, nah, I'll be fine. I got people going, yeah, that's the story of my life. I got private messages from people that say, if my body had a check engine light, then at least I'd know something was wrong. I'd know where to check. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So remember yesterday, if you were on with me yesterday, I talked about ChatGPT and using it to start asking questions about what direction to go in your health. Asking it, to give you, I did a whole menu plan and an exercise plan. That's what I use my ChatGPT for. I use it for all kinds of stuff, but that's one of the ones. So I'm challenging you. I'm saying, hey, wake up. Don't live this blackout, unconscious life, right? Dwayne and I, yesterday, the blackout, we expected it to go like half an hour or whatever, right? But no, it was a big one. It hit 3 states. And I was like, I'm going to the beach. Like, what else am I going to do? I'm going to the beach, right? Because I live in Playa del Carmen. It's hot in my apartment, and there's a breeze on the beach, so I'm going to the beach. And then we were talking with our landlord a little bit. He was here doing some work and whatever. And Dwayne's like, well, did you miss anything? Like, did you have anything on your calendar? I said, I don't care. It's a blackout, right? I had no attachments. Now, typically on Fridays I don't have anything, and it's no big deal, because what am I going to say? I couldn't even text somebody and say I can't make the meeting because it's a blackout. Now, if I had a meeting with somebody and they really cared, they could go online and say, wow, 3 states have no power in Quintana Roo, and that's where Barbie Lee is. So I'm like, that's where Barbie Lee is. Anyhow, it got me thinking about prepping physically for a physical blackout, right? So Dwayne and I are going to go buy candles. I'm like, we don't even have candles. We have a little flashlight. We'd have our flashlights on our phone. But, we live in a country where there's no need for, heating, so we're not going to freeze to death. And it is unlikely at our age and with our health that we will be heat death, because we can go in the ocean, we can sit in the shade, you know what I mean? Like, there's all kinds of options. And we don't have over big bodies and, heat bothers us. So we talked today about prepping a little bit better to have, if we're going to have this rolling blackouts or whatever's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. And I said to him on the beach yesterday, I said, we could take a ferry over to Cozumel, just grab a hotel room for the night. Because the ferries were still running. Because they are not plugged in. So I don't know, maybe they have different navigational, so maybe they just see Cozumel and they can drive across, I don't know, but they were still running last night. So we could do that, because Cozumel still had power, which was really weird. So they must have their own grid that's a little bit different than the system here, I don't know. And one large hotel over there had powers, and I guess the hotel strip in Cancun all had power because they have generators. And that's the difference between the tourism industry and other industry here in the Caribbean, in the tropics, is hotels want to make sure they have everything for their guests. So we could walk down the road. We didn't have to go to Cozumel. We saw the big adults only resort down the road, and we could have just gone and stayed there. Do you know what I mean? And we might have, if situation, if it would have been more than a day or so, that could have been. But we're like, oh, we're on the beach. We can have our shakes tonight. We're no big deal. It's like, whatever, So we're going to prepare for that. But what are you preparing for? What if you're living your life in a blackout? Like, literally, what if you are unconscious to your life? Isn't it time to turn the lights on? Isn't it time to have conversations with people like me who can help you see things differently, right? Maybe you're a candidate for my quality of life assurance program. I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. I don't know. But we won't know until we have that conversation, right? What if you're just kind of existing? What if you love your life? What if you're doing everything you love, but there's still a piece in it that's really kind of miserable? You don't have enough money. You're always telling people you don't have enough money, or your relationship sucks, or, you know what I mean? Like what if you have a great life, but there's that missing piece? And usually it's health, relationships. My grandmother used to say bedrooms, bathrooms, bank accounts, right? We don't know about people's relationships, what's going on in their health, the bathrooms, and their bank accounts. We don't know what's going on financially. And those are typically the 3 solid areas where people, have difficulties and have issues. And that's where they kind of live that blackout life. So I talked to a lady about oh my gosh, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, before we went to Canada. And she was talking about how she's perfectly happy with nothing. She has literally almost no money. She barely survives month to month. She lives in a little tiny apartment, and she is blissfully happy. And I was like, well, what if you get sick? She goes, then I hope I die. I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, because I can't afford to be better. And I was like, wow. And she just accepted, because she also believes that when she dies, she's going to go to heaven and all things will be better. I'm like, but what about right now? Like, you're living this world. But anyways, that's a whole other conversation. So back to, are you living in a blackout? Are you living unconsciously to the world around you? And if you are you okay with it? Because people live completely unconscious. They drink all the time. They eat the wrong foods. They sleep through life. Literally, they fall asleep. They have naps in the middle of the day. They're sitting around. They fall asleep because they are consciously living unconscious, because they don't want to deal with life. They don't want to deal with adulting. I'm not speaking to you unless you are ready to change, because I have a lot of those people in my world. I grew up in a family of alcoholics. I know how they operate. But if you're like, oh, I'm living in a little bit of a blackout. I am. And I don't want to anymore. Then this is your chance to reach out to me. Let's have a little, I'll make my shake. You can have whatever you like. And we'll have a conversation. Because I believe we are designed to fully live until we die, and not live unconsciously, not live in a world where we don't know where, our next hug is coming from. We don't know where the money is coming from. We don't know, I don't think we're meant to live that way. I think we are meant to have a juicy and delicious life, and that means living with the lights on. And I don't mean physically turning on the lights. I mean physically turning on the lights, right? The head and the heart. Bring in the gut, because that's important too, right? Gut, heart, head. These are your centers. Just saying, living in the light is way better than living in the dark. Don't take my word for it. Don't believe anything I say. Try it.